Hey guys, it's Dory. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Here is where I document life and my weight loss journey. So let me introduce myself for anybody who may be new. I am Dory. I am 47 years old, 5'4" tall. On September 12th of 2016, I had vertical sleeve gastrectomy weight loss surgery. I had that surgery in Hartford, Connecticut with a Dr. Darren Tischler. My highest ever recorded weight was 350 pounds. The day of surgery, my weight was 300.5. The lowest adult weight that I've seen was 156.3, I believe, which is under what my goal was. My goal was 160. So when I achieved 156, like a week and a half ago, I was ecstatic. My goal now is to maintain between 150 and 155. I'm almost there. Over this weekend, I actually indulged a little bit in pie, and I'll let you know why in a minute. And so the scale was at 159 today, which is not a big deal. I knew that I was going to have the pie. I knew that the scale would be up, but it's not really that big a deal. I'm still under my goal, which is good in my book. So I know I alluded to it on my last video. There had been some deaths around me. A couple people that were really close to me, one extremely close. And so I'm going to kind of allude to that now and kind of fill you in a little bit, although I'm not going to go into too much detail because it's still, the emotions of it is still very raw. And so I don't want to have this be a video about, the death and me crying in front of you guys. So we go to a really amazing church. It's affiliated with the International Churches of Christ. I've been there for 22 years, and there was a man by the name of James Bright. He was an architect. I've known him the whole 22 years. He actually grew up in Texas. He attended Texas Tech. He left like in 1979 with a group of people who he was attending a mainline Church of Christ, and he left, came here to Massachusetts, which was a huge faith leap to begin with. But him and approximately 5, 6, 7 other men from the mainline church came here, and they formed what we now know as our modern day movement of the International Churches of Christ. We just believe in the Bible. We don't believe in, anything other than what the Bible teaches us. We're not like crazy. It's not a cult, anything like that. We have to study the Bible, and we get baptized as an adult for the forgiveness of our sins. We know that we are broken people, that we will never be perfect. We believe that Jesus died for our sins and ultimately was raised to life and is in heaven with God, and the rest of the story I'm sure you guys know for the most part. And if you have any questions about the Bible or anything, I'd be happy to tell you about it. But anyways, and so James I've known for 22 years. He has 2 children. I knew them 20 years ago before the children moved and grew up, and now his son is 35, and I forgot his daughter is a couple years older than him. And so anyhow, so James married a friend of mine named Carol, and James and Carol have been married almost 14 years. He had a first marriage. She also had a marriage. And then they, in December of 2005, Carol is a realtor. James, as I said, is an architect. Don't mind my crazy cat running behind you. But in any event, when I was selling a home I had in December of 2005, Carol was my realtor, of course, and as I was signing it, I just looked at her and said, "What do you think about James Bright?" Because they were both single. And she's like, "He's handsome." And 2 months later, they were married. They were destined for each other for sure. I won't get into any more detail about that because I already feel like I'm going to lose it. But in any event, on Saturday evening, we had his memorial. It has been extremely hard. I have not slept in probably a week. He died on New Year's Eve day. And so anyway, so we'll fast forward a little bit. Pie was, well, I guess we're not going to fast forward. Pie was one of James's favorite things to eat. He didn't care whether he had it breakfast, lunch, dinner. He didn't care. And his favorite two pies were pecan and cherry. Maybe I wasn't ready to share. But anyway, so at his memorial, that's what we did at night. It was from 6 to 8-ish. And afterwards, we gathered in the back of our church to enjoy pie. And so I enjoyed a piece of pecan and a piece of cherry that night. And then yesterday morning or afternoon after church, there was pie left over and I had another slice of pecan pie for James. During his memorial, he had shared communion. So he left Texas, as I said. He lived in Western Massachusetts with us at our church for many, many years. And after him and Carol got married, Carol was actually born and raised here. He always dreamed about going back home to Texas, to his roots. He loves Texas. He's totally Texan, huge accent, which I'm going to miss a lot. But anyway, so they moved to Texas in New Braunfels, Texas, I believe is how you say it. It's not too far, I believe, from San Antonio, maybe 45 minutes, maybe an hour. But this was the couple. Just to give you a brief, a really small story, but it impacted us a lot. James was the man who we always went to, my husband and I. Even after I was divorced from my first husband, I would always go to James for parenting advice. He was amazing, even-keeled, non-emotional, just an amazing, kind-hearted man. Never said a bad word about anybody. Always loved his children immensely. He has a girl and a son, a daughter and a son. But what impacted us the most, and this will just give you kind of what him and Carol are like. She's a realtor, as I mentioned, and she still does a lot of realty stuff here. So they would fly back and forth a lot from Texas to here. And they also went to Sofia, Bulgaria on a mission team with our church, because our church helps out tons of countries and the United States, of course, and right here at home. And so anyhow, so they fell in love with Sofia and the people there, and there was a small church, and they really just needed to have people love up on them and encourage them. And so James and Carol would often fly there on their own expense just to encourage the church, which is amazing. But when my husband left for basic military training last October of 2018, he took off on the day before Halloween, and I got a phone call. Of course, Carol and James, we've always talked. It's always been an open communication. We've always had that relationship. And so Carol called and said, hey, what's Chris's flight number? When does he land? Yada, yada. And unbeknownst to me, they had made the trip maybe 40 minutes, hour, whatever. It really doesn't matter, even if it was 5 minutes. But they made the trip to the San Antonio airport, knowing that because my husband's with the military, he was not able to see them. They could see him through a glass partition, and he was behind security, and there was nothing that they could do for him except to wave and to blow him a kiss. And they said it was important for them to do that for him and for me as a welcome to Texas. Also a breath of fresh air from home, since he knows him from here, knows them. And also so they could report back to me that my husband made it safe. to Texas because, as a wife and a mom, when your husband's leaving on any trip, business, military, it doesn't matter if he's deployed or whatever. When he was leaving for almost 6 months. It was very important to me that I know he arrived safe. And so they did that. Just to wave, just to welcome him, and just to let me know he made it safe. Fast forward from the end of October to the end of December when I flew out to San Antonio to see my husband graduate BMT. They came too. They met me there. We attended his graduation, his formal graduation, which was on a Friday. It was freezing cold in Texas, which being from the Northeast, I'm used to. They kind of got acclimated to more of a nicer temperature down there. But on this particular time I visited, and I think probably that whole season, it was 30 degrees and the wind chill was horrible. But they came out, they loved it. They loved up on us. We hung out with them for a long time. And of course, James insisted that they take us to lunch because while in Texas, you can't leave Texas without having authentic Texas barbecue. He was extremely proud to be from Texas. We took a picture, which now I cherish, at that barbecue place of the four of us, and I'll link that. That'll be at the end of my video. So I had been in contact with Carol, of course, and James, and I just saw them the beginning of December. They came here. We had a party because she's a realtor. She spoils us as her clients, and of course, we're dear friends. But she spoils us, and she rents out movie theaters on occasion. Like once a year, we have like a movie, maybe even every 6 months. And then we had to have holiday Christmas parties, and it's just amazing. And she's just love both of them. They're both such giving people. And so I just saw them in December, and I had been communicating since September with her via text about his health, and his health deteriorated like almost immediately. He's very tall, thin to begin with, but at some point within the last few months, he lost 60 pounds and just became really tired all the time and weak. And they had him at certain doctor appointments, and they took blood work, and they did not an EKG, like an EDM or something like that, EKM, I don't know. But in any event, they could not do a prognosis for him, and he was waiting until January 10th, which today is January 6th. Had he been alive in 4 days, he would have been going to get a spinal tap done for them to figure things out. They ruled out cancer and they ruled out all this scary stuff, but they were leaning toward ALS, and they just needed confirmation. Or if there was something that mirrors ALS that maybe had a cure or something he could do, they would have done it. And so a couple days before he passed, a few days, they had a choice of Houston or Los Angeles Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. His daughter is amazing, and she just left no stone unturned in trying to find him the best doctors and healthcare. Everything is a wait, which was not beneficial in this circumstance. And so basically, he was at his daughter's house with Carol for a few days, and they were kind of in a waiting pattern to figure out, kind of getting him rested before he was to go get his appointment on January 10th, and they would get their results of that on January 24th and go from there. All the while, he could not eat or drink. He was just really very frail, which is not, you'll see in the picture. So this is just 1 year prior to what you guys, what he was before he passed. And so I got a call from our minister. We're all very close. Our church is about 250, maybe 300 people. We're extremely close. All of our churches, we have a church everywhere in the United States, all over the country. If you have 100,000 people or more. There's one in every state, every country. If you have even a smaller amount, we still have those churches as well, because we only have like 56,000 people in my city, and we have a church, and it's amazing. And I love my church family so much. And so the minister is just like another person like us, and we're extremely close. He's like the brother, the close brother relationship I never really had, and I'm like the sister that he never had because he had only brothers. And so he's from India, originally moved here when he was young, and yada yada, whatever. But I get a call from him because he wanted me to hear it from him, per Carol, and because he knew that we were close. And so he called me just a couple hours after he passed and just told me not to tell anybody except my husband, because the immediate family hadn't known yet. And so it was extremely detrimental. I feel so sad. So very sad. I feel the most sad for Carol. They were attached at the hip. They never went anywhere without the other one. They held hands always. They served our church community and our church family, whether it was here or in Texas or all over. They donated tons of money. They helped people without even asking. They still do. Carol will still carry that on. I know she will. I'm so sorry, you guys. This was not what this video was supposed to be about. And so anyways, we had his memorial on Saturday. Yesterday, I sat with Carol during our church service because I really wanted to be there for her. I just can't imagine having your husband there one day, going about your business, trying to help him, having the future plans that I'm sure they had, and then going and finding him deceased in the bed, and then having to figure out how to get his body from LA to Texas or wherever he's going to be buried, or however it was going to work. I know now the details, but then I did not. And like her going back to Texas, and then her coming here. She flew here with his family, with his children and her son. They all flew, and they all coming from all different parts of the country to come here and have the service. She's here for 2 weeks before having to return alone to the home that they have in Texas. So during this 2 weeks, her and I are going to hang out. I'm just going to love up on her and encourage her. I texted my minister last night and just said to him, I'm sure you're getting 1 billion of these texts, but please add me to the list of I am going to miss James so much, and it hurts so bad. And he texts back that he gets it, and he's also on that list. So it's going to take quite some time to get over this loss. This was a huge loss for us personally, but also for us spiritually. His daughter shared at the memorial a very personal. Now, I remember her when she was little. I couldn't wait to hug her. I have not seen her in probably about 18 years. And of course, my transformation, she was ecstatic, and now we're friends on Facebook and whatever. And so she shared a very personal video which was taken of her dad as they were playing a game just a couple of days before he passed. And he had said some things to her that were really sweet. And he always had. It wasn't anything out of the ordinary. It was normal for him just to tell everybody he loved them and to reminisce and everything. And this particular day, as he was sharing, she said, "Oh, Dad, can I videotape you?" And she put him on a video and on her phone and just videotaped what he said. And the whole time you could hear her crying behind the video. It's kind of like she said she feels like God motivated her to want to videotape him, not knowing at the time that would be the last video. And you just see him there, And she puts it on, and he's like, is it on? Is it on? And she's like, yes. And you can see him, he's a little bit frail, not speaking as high of a pitch as he normally would. And just telling her, I'm so happy to be here with you. I'm so happy to be sharing this time with you at your home. I love you so much. It reminds me of the time when you were little, you would crawl on my lap and hug me. It was so impactful just to see my friend for the last time, so recent. They also shared at church. He had shared communion one week, and they shared his voice. And it was like, somebody's gone and you hear their voice again. It was so comforting, but so sad at the same time. So I asked one of the guys from my church, a friend of mine, he does the sound and like all the equipment and whatever. And he told me if I bring him in a thumb drive, he'll take that communion off for me so I can see it and never have his voice gone. Although I don't think I could ever forget his voice. Just that accent. Just his loving, kind voice. So I'm going to end it here. I'll just say one more thing. So the neurologist, his brother shared, he had one brother, and his mom is still alive in Missouri. His brother and his wife and the mom are in Missouri. And his mom must be like 90-something years old. James was 65. And so anyhow, so his brother shared. And at the end, he shared that the neurologist that was working with them at Cedars-Sinai had sent a letter of condolence. And in the bottom of the letter, he just said that James had ALS, which for us is very comforting because James is an extremely humble man who would never have wanted anybody to take care of him, push him in a wheelchair, feed him, or anything like that. That would have been more suffering than actual pain for him. And so I'm so grateful knowing that diagnosis that Jesus took him home when he did. I'm so grateful he's with God, and I'm so grateful that he's going to be there when we get up there. All right, guys, so I am so sorry. I'm actually not sorry, but I'm sorry that you guys had to sit through that. I hope that wasn't like tormenting for anybody. Please, I apologize if it is. I get caught up in explaining things. But anyways, back to why I originally made the video. So that is my update kind of on how I gained the couple of pounds. But it's not really a big deal. I went from 156 to 159. It's like a 3-pound gain. It's not really that, it's not anything that's, I'm going to worry about. I knew that I was having the pie and I don't regret it and I love it. And there's going to be times like that where on the weekends or something I may want to have a donut, a pie, something. That's kind of, once you get to maintenance, something that you're able to do. And so this week, the only thing new is I started drinking Zip Fizz. I don't really like the taste of it, though, to be totally honest. I have orange, grape, and fruit punch. I don't know if any of you guys want to trade some so I can try the other ones. I'd be happy to send them to you, and you guys can send different flavors to me if you want. But I am not a fan, but I'm going to drink it because I know that the potassium and all the vitamins are really good for me. And so I'm going to do that. And that's really all that's the most different this week. I definitely am going to be trying to get back on track as far as sleep. I was doing so well while the kids were on vacation. My husband also had some days off because of the holidays. And so he would stay, get up early with them and I'd stay in bed. Since this whole thing had happened with James, and then there were also 2 children who I had also said, kind of alluded to, 2 children drowned. One of them actually was in direct contact and played with my kindergarten daughter every day since September. He was amazing, wonderful, wonderful kid. He would come in, he was only 10 years old. He would come in and he would play with her and help the other kids. He was just a mentor in the class. It's a program that they have at their school. He was a 5th grader, and the 5th graders would come in and help mentor the kindergartners, just helping the teachers play and get their coats off and things, and then get their coats ready to go. You know, so he will definitely be missed, but the school did an amazing job getting counselors there and even having therapy dogs there. So there was a therapy dog in my daughter's classroom, and they only had Thursday and Friday of last week to go to school, and so they had the weekend. And so now, you know, I'm sure she probably forgot mostly about the whole thing and how sad it was, and I think the school day felt a little different today than it had last week. And so I'm just really trying to get back to feeling better, getting some sleep so I don't get sick. I know there's a ton of people sick. I feel great. I feel fine. And that's it. This video went on way too long. It's already over 25 minutes, but I'm going to insert the picture of Carol, James, my husband, and myself at, it was December 28th of 2019. No, sorry, 2018. So it was just happened to be a year ago, a year and a couple days ago, from when he passed. And so that's what I'll share with you guys. And I love you guys. Thanks for sticking around. I'm so sorry that it was a not really that much of an update video for you, but I guess maybe it was. But all right, I love you guys.